She turned 40 on a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic, just the number sitting there, heavier than the ones before it. She had a decent job, a mortgage, 2 kids in school, and the quiet, persistent feeling that she had somehow already missed the window. She hadn't, but nobody had told her that yet. The median net worth of Americans in their early 40s is around $135,000. The median net worth of Americans in their early 60s is nearly $400,000. That growth, almost tripling in 20 years, happens almost entirely in the decades most people write off as too late. Today we're going through 7 specific reasons why 40 is not too late, and what the people who actually build wealth in their 40s do differently. Stay with me through point number 4. There's one advantage people in their 40s have over every 25-year-old in the room, and almost nobody talks about it. Let's get into it. The most expensive financial belief most people over 40 carry isn't a bad investment or a wrong decision. It's the quiet conviction that it's already too late. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't show up as a dramatic moment of giving up. It shows up as a subtle, persistent reluctance to start. A voice that says there's not enough time for it to matter, so why put yourself through the effort of trying? And that voice, quiet and reasonable sounding as it is, does more financial damage than almost any single mistake a person could make. Because the person who made bad investments in their 30s can recover. The person who never starts because they believe the window closed, they cannot recover from something they never began. Here's what the math actually shows. The median net worth of Americans in their early 40s is around $135,000. The median net worth of Americans in their early 60s is nearly $400,000. That's not a small difference. That's almost tripling in 20 years for the average person making average decisions without any dramatic financial transformation. Just time, consistency, and not stopping. The wealth window doesn't close at 40. For most people, the window is just getting to the part where it actually opens wide enough to matter. In The Richest Man in Babylon, there's a character named Dabasir, whose story most people skip over in favor of Arkad's more celebrated arc. Dabasir was a camel trader who had, by middle age, accumulated nothing but debt. He had made every mistake available to a person. Reckless spending, poor judgment, borrowed money squandered on things that didn't last. He was not young when he finally decided to change. He was not starting from zero. He was starting from below zero, in middle age, with a list of creditors and a reputation that needed rebuilding from the ground up. And he built wealth, not despite starting late, not in spite of his mistakes, because of what those mistakes had taught him, and because he finally stopped believing that the past determined the future. Write down the one financial thing you've been putting off because some part of you decided it was too late to matter. One specific thing. Then do one calculation. If you started today and stayed consistent for 20 years, what would it actually be worth at 65? Then calculate what it's worth if you never start. Write both numbers down and look at them side by side. That gap, the space between starting now and never starting, is the only number that has ever actually been at stake. The question was never whether you started at the perfect age. The question is whether you start at all. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. The worst time is never, and never is what happens when you keep waiting for the right moment. And once you let go of the belief that the window is closed, once you actually see the math for what it is, something else becomes visible. An advantage that people in their 40s have that nobody in their 20s can buy, borrow, or shortcut their way into. It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with knowing. At 40, you know what you actually want. The 25-year-old has time. The 40-year-old has something more valuable. They know which direction to point it. That sounds like consolation. It isn't. It's one of the most practically significant financial advantages a person can have, and it's almost entirely invisible to the people who have it because it doesn't feel like an advantage. it feels like ordinary life. But consider what it actually means. The person in their 20s, saving diligently, is saving toward a future they can't yet clearly see. They're investing in a life they haven't lived enough to know whether they actually want. The person in their 40s has lived enough to know. They've seen which things they thought would make them happy and didn't. They've felt the difference between the life they led and the life they actually wanted. And that knowledge, that hard-won, lived-in clarity, is worth more to a financial plan than almost any other input. Let me tell you about a man I'll call Thomas. 42 years old, structural engineer, 15 years into a career he was genuinely good at. For most of those 15 years, Thomas had saved, not brilliantly, not consistently enough, but he'd saved. The problem was he'd never been entirely sure what he was saving for. Retirement felt abstract. Financial independence felt like something other people achieved. He had a number in his head, some vague figure that had always seemed like enough, but it wasn't connected to anything specific. Then, around his 41st birthday, something shifted. He sat down one evening and described, in writing, exactly what he wanted his life to look like at 65. Not the feeling of it, the specifics. Where he lived, what a Tuesday morning looked like. What does it cost per month? When he translated that specific life into a specific monthly number and worked backward to what he needed to invest starting now, for the first time in 15 years of saving, he felt like he knew what he was doing. Every financial decision in the 6 months that followed was clearer than anything in the 15 years before. Not because his income changed, because his direction did. Clarity about a destination doesn't just feel better. It changes behavior in ways that accumulate enormously over time. The person saving toward a specific, vivid, clearly defined life makes different decisions at the grocery store, at the car dealership, at the moment a raise comes through, than the person saving toward a vague sense of future security. The specificity creates a filter, and that filter, applied consistently over 20 years, is the difference between arriving somewhere intentional and arriving somewhere approximate. Write down, specifically, not abstractly, what your life looks like at 65. Where do you live? What does a typical Tuesday look like from morning to evening? What does it cost per month to maintain that life? Take that monthly number, multiply it by 12, multiply it by 20 years of retirement, and that is your actual target. Not a general sense of enough. A number, connected to a life. That number, sitting clearly in front of you, changes every financial decision you make from this point forward. Because every decision is now either moving you toward it or away from it. Clarity about what you want is worth more than decades of unfocused saving. Direction matters more than a head start. And that clarity, that precise knowledge of where you're going, combines with something else that people in their 40s often have without recognizing it as the financial advantage it actually is. Something connected to income and timing, and why the next 10 to 15 years for most people in their 40s are the most financially powerful years of their entire lives. Most people reach their highest earning years between 40 and 55 and spend them maintaining a lifestyle instead of building an asset base. That's not a moral failing. It's not laziness or poor character. It's what happens when income rises gradually and lifestyle rises right alongside it. Automatically, invisibly, without any single dramatic decision that could be pointed to and reconsidered. The raise comes through. The car gets slightly nicer. The vacations get slightly more expensive. The house gets slightly larger. Each individual adjustment feels reasonable, even earned. But the cumulative effect of 20 years of lifestyle keeping pace with income is a retirement account that never quite reflected the earning power that fed it. And the cruelest part of that pattern is that it happens most aggressively during exactly the years when each dollar invested has the most time left to compound. Think about what peak earning years actually represent for a financial life. Not just more money coming in, but more money coming in during the period when that money still has 20 to 25 years of compounding ahead of it. A dollar invested at 42 and left alone until 65 has 23 years to grow. That same dollar invested at 52 has 13 years. The difference in outcome between those two numbers, 23 years of compounding versus 13, is not proportional to the 10-year gap between them. It's exponential, which means the decisions made during peak earning years don't just affect the amount saved, they affect the trajectory of everything that follows. In Jewish tradition, there's a concept called Bikurim, the offering of first fruits. The instruction was specific, not the last of the harvest, not the remainder after everything else was accounted for, but the first and the best, offered before the rest was distributed. The financial principle embedded in this ancient practice is not subtle. The person who invests from abundance, who directs the first portion of their peak earning years toward assets before lifestyle consumes it, is operating on an entirely different trajectory than the person who invests whatever is left after everything else is paid. Both people may feel equally responsible in the moment. Only one of them is building something. Here's the pattern that catches most people. The first significant raise after 40 arrives. It feels like breathing room. Finally. And so they breathe. They let the lifestyle expand a little because they've earned it and they deserve it, and there's finally enough cushion to do it comfortably. Then the next raise arrives, and the lifestyle has already adjusted to the previous one, so it expands again. And the raise after that. And 10 years later, the income has grown significantly, and the savings rate, as a percentage, has barely moved. The money came in, the lifestyle absorbed it, and the peak earning window quietly closed without ever being deliberately used. Calculate your current monthly income. Then calculate what percentage of it is going directly to assets, investments, retirement accounts, anything building net worth. Write that percentage down. Now ask one question. Has that percentage increased in the last 3 years despite your income increasing? If the answer is no, your lifestyle has been consuming your wealth window, one reasonable feeling adjustment at a time. Decide today, not next month, not after the next raise, what percentage of every future income increase goes directly to assets before it touches your lifestyle. Even half, even a third. That decision, made once and held consistently, redirects the entire trajectory of your peak earning years. Peak earning years spent on lifestyle inflation is the most expensive mistake most 40-year-olds never see themselves making. And spending those peak years deliberately, pointing them towards something specific, becomes dramatically more powerful when combined with the one advantage most people at 40 have and almost nobody names. The one I mentioned at the very beginning. The one that has nothing to do with income or timing or compound interest, and everything to do with what you've already been through. If you're still here, 3 points in, I want to say something directly. Most content about building wealth after 40 is either falsely reassuring or quietly condescending. It either tells you everything is fine without showing you why, or it tells you what you should have done differently 20 years ago, which helps no one. What we've been doing today is different. We're looking at what's actually true, what's actually available, and what's actually possible, starting from where you are right now. Drop starting now in the comments. It tells me you're not looking for permission or reassurance. You're looking for a direction. And it helps more people find this conversation who need it. Because point number 4 is the one I promised you at the very beginning. The advantage that people in their 40s have over every 25-year-old in the room. And when you hear it, you'll understand why almost nobody talks about it. Because it doesn't feel like an advantage until you see it clearly. Now here's the one I promised you, and I want you to really sit with this one, because it's going to require you to look at something most people prefer to file away and not revisit. Every financial mistake you made in your 20s and 30s just paid you a tuition you can never get back. The investment went to zero. The credit card debt that took 3 years to climb out of. The business idea that cost more than it made. The years you spent in the wrong career, or the right career for the wrong reasons, or nowhere near where you should have been financially for your age. All of it. Every uncomfortable, expensive, embarrassing moment of it. That tuition, paid in full, non-refundable, bought you something that a 25-year-old cannot purchase at any price. It bought you the knowledge of what actually happens, not what the theory says happens, not what the optimistic projections suggest. What actually specifically personally happens when you make certain kinds of decisions with money. And that knowledge, experiential, embodied, learned the hard way, is one of the most valuable financial assets a person can hold. It just doesn't appear on any balance sheet. Marcus Aurelius, a man who made consequential decisions under pressure that most people cannot imagine, wrote something in his private journals that sounds almost too simple until you've lived enough to feel its weight. The obstacle, he wrote, is the path. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He wasn't writing about philosophy in the abstract. He was writing about what he had observed repeatedly in his own life and in the lives of the people around him. The setbacks were not detours from the path. They were the path. They were what built the capacity to navigate what came next. Your financial mistakes before 40 are not evidence that you're bad with money. They're the curriculum that made you capable of being genuinely good with it, if you treat them that way. The 25-year-old sitting in a financial planning seminar is learning concepts. You are carrying conclusions. They know what compound interest is supposed to do. You know what happens when you ignore it for a decade. They understand, intellectually, why high-interest debt is dangerous. You have felt, personally, the specific weight of carrying it longer than you should have. That felt knowledge, the kind that lives in your decisions rather than just in your understanding, is worth more than any financial education that hasn't been tested by experience. Write down the 3 most expensive financial mistakes you made before 40. Not to revisit the pain of them, but to extract the curriculum. Next to each one, write 1 sentence. What this taught me. Then write 1 more sentence. How that lesson will change one specific decision I make in the next 12 months. The mistakes are already paid for. The only question is whether you collect the education they bought or file them away as things you'd rather not think about. One of those choices is compound. The other one doesn't. The 25-year-old has potential. The 40-year-old has proof. Proof of what works, what doesn't, and what they'll never do again. And that proof, that hard-won, personally verified understanding of how money actually behaves in the real world, becomes even more powerful when it's combined with something most people in their 40s have quietly accumulated without ever thinking of it as a financial asset. Something that has nothing to do with savings or investments or compound interest. But that opens doors that money alone cannot. 4 points in. And if something has shifted in the way you're thinking about where you are right now, that's exactly what this conversation was designed to do. Not to make you feel better about the past, not to minimize the real work ahead, but to help you see clearly what you're actually working with. Because most people at 40 are carrying more genuine financial advantages than they've ever been told. And the ones who recognize that, who stop apologizing for their starting point and start using what they have, are the ones who look back at 65 with something to show for it. Drop 40 and building in the comments right now. It tells me you're done waiting for the perfect moment, and it helps this video reach the people who need this conversation most. Because there are a lot of people sitting on the edge of starting, talking themselves out of it with a belief that was never accurate to begin with. Because the next 3 points are where everything becomes concrete. And point 5 is the one that surprises people most. Because the math is better than almost anyone expects. Most people hear compound interest and assume they need to start at 22 for it to matter. The math says otherwise. And the difference between what most people believe about compounding at 40 And what the numbers actually show is significant enough to change the entire way you approach the next decade. Here's the belief most people carry into their 40s about compound interest. It's for young people. It's for the ones who started early, who maxed out their Roth IRA at 23, who had parents who explained this stuff when it could still make the dramatic difference. For everyone else, for the people who spent their 30s paying off student loans and raising kids and trying to keep the mortgage current, compounding is something they missed the boat on. It's a concept they understand, but don't feel applies to them anymore. And that belief, quiet, reasonable sounding, seemingly supported by every retirement calculator that shows how much better it is to start at 25, is one of the most financially destructive beliefs a person in their 40s can carry. Because it isn't true. There's an ancient story about a king and a chessboard. A wise man performed a service for the king and was offered any reward he chose. The wise man pointed to the chessboard and asked for 1 grain of wheat on the first square, doubled on each square that followed. The king agreed immediately. The request seemed almost insulting in its modesty. By the middle of the board, the king's advisors were beginning to look uncomfortable. By the end, there wasn't enough wheat in the entire kingdom to fulfill the promise. That's the nature of compounding. Not linear, not proportional, but exponential. And here's what most people miss about that story when they apply it to their own situation. The first half of the board looks unimpressive. The squares at positions 10, 15, and 20 don't seem like much. It's the latter squares where everything accelerates. For a person starting at 40 with 25 years ahead, they are not starting at square 1 and losing the exponential half. They are starting at a square where the growth is real, meaningful, and genuinely transformative over the time that remains. A person who invests $500 a month, starting at 40, with a conservative average annual return, will have somewhere between $380,000 and $430,000 by 65. That's not a consolation prize. That's a life-changing amount of money, built from a modest monthly commitment started at exactly the age most people decide it's too late to bother. Now add what happens if they increase that contribution as their income grows. If they apply the lesson from point 3 and direct a portion of every raise to assets before lifestyle absorbs it, the number changes dramatically. The trajectory changes entirely. Use any free compound interest calculator online tonight. Enter your current age. Enter 65 as your endpoint. Enter whatever you could realistically commit to monthly, not the ideal number, the real one. Run the calculation. Then run it again with a start date 5 years from now instead of today. Look at the gap between those two numbers, not as guilt, as information. That gap is the cost of waiting, not in abstract terms, but in the specific dollars that the next 5 years of starting versus not starting will produce. Then decide whether the waiting is worth that number. Starting at 40 with discipline beats starting at 25 without it. Every single time. And the power of compounding at 40 is amplified further by something most people never think to calculate. A resource they've been building for 20 years without ever entering it on a balance sheet. Something that doesn't earn interest in any conventional sense, but opens doors that interest alone never could. The 25-year-old has energy. The 40-year-old has a phone full of people who trust them. And trust, the specific, earned, time-tested kind that comes from 2 decades of showing up, delivering, being reliable in ways that people remember, is worth more at the right moment than almost any financial asset you could name. It doesn't show up on a net worth calculation. It doesn't earn dividends, but it creates opportunities. Genuine, specific, financially significant opportunities that no amount of money or youth can manufacture on demand. Think about your professional network at 40, compared to what it was at 25. The people you've worked alongside for years, the colleagues who became something closer than colleagues, the clients who came back because of how you handled something difficult, the mentors who invested time in you and the people you've invested time in since. That network, built quietly over 20 years through the accumulation of thousands of small, reliable moments, is a financial asset. Not metaphorically, literally. It is the source of partnerships, referrals, opportunities, information, and introductions that the 25-year-old has to spend years and significant energy trying to build from scratch. In the parable of the talents, the servants who doubled what they'd been given didn't do it alone and in isolation. They went out, they engaged, they worked within a world of relationships and transactions and trust. The wealth in the story wasn't created by the money sitting still. It was created by the money moving through a network of people who knew each other and trusted each other enough to do things together. The servant who buried his talent buried it alone. The ones who grew it did so in connection with others. At 40, you have the network. The question is whether you're treating it as the financial asset it actually is. Write down 5 people in your existing network who have built something financially significant: a business, a real estate portfolio, an investment approach that's working, a career transition that created more freedom. Not to ask them for anything immediately, to reconnect genuinely, to have a real conversation, to understand how they think about money and opportunity and the decisions that made the difference for them. The information and perspective that comes from those 5 conversations will be worth more than any financial course, any book, any YouTube video, including this one. Because it will be specific, it will be relevant to your actual life, and it will come from people who already know and trust you. Your network at 40 is a financial asset. The question is whether you're treating it like one. And all of it, the clarity, the peak earning years, the hard-won experience, the compounding that still has real time, the network built over 2 decades, points toward one final thing. The picture of what the next 25 years actually look like for the person who decides today to start building quietly and deliberately. Because most people can't start what they can't see. And this is what it looks like. 25 years is a long time. It's longer for most people in their 40s than their entire adult working life up to this point. It's longer than most marriages. It's longer than the span from their first job to where they're sitting right now. And it is exactly what's available. 25 years of decisions, contributions, compounding, and quiet accumulation for the person who starts today instead of waiting for a better moment that was never going to arrive. Most people can't start something they can't visualize. That's not a character flaw. It's how human motivation actually works. The abstract future, retirement, financial freedom, the life on the other side of the building years, stays abstract until something makes it concrete. Until someone shows you, specifically, what the path from here to there actually looks like for a person starting from roughly where you are. Not a celebrity, not a financial prodigy, someone ordinary, starting at a realistic point, making realistic decisions over a realistic amount of time. There's a woman I want to tell you about. I'll call her Margaret. 41 years old, high school history teacher, 2 kids, a mortgage she was managing, a retirement account she'd contributed to inconsistently for years. No dramatic financial background, no inheritance coming, no side business generating extra income. Just a Tuesday evening when she sat down, watched something that explained compound interest in a way that finally made sense to her, and decided to set up an automatic investment of $400 a month. Not because she had extra, because she decided it came first. The first year, nothing felt different. The second year, nothing felt different. By year 5, she'd stopped thinking about it much. It just happened, automatically, every month while she was doing everything else. By year 15, she sat across from a financial advisor for her first real planning session. When she saw the number for the first time, what 15 years of $400 a month consistently invested had become, she went quiet for a long moment. Then she cried. Not from sadness, from the specific, clear memory of the Tuesday evening she had almost talked herself out of starting. and from the understanding of how different everything would have looked if she had. Margaret didn't do anything complicated. She didn't time the market or pick exceptional investments or sacrifice her entire lifestyle on the altar of financial discipline. She started. She stayed consistent. She didn't stop when the market dropped or when an unexpected expense made the month harder than usual. She just kept going. And the math, patient, indifferent, reliable, did the rest. Ask yourself tonight what Margaret's Tuesday evening looks like for you. What is the one decision, the specific, concrete, this week decision that starts the clock? Not the perfect plan, not the fully optimized strategy, the first move, the $400 a month, or the $200 a month, or the whatever you can actually commit to a month that begins the sequence. Because the sequence is what matters, not the starting amount. The sequence. The person who starts at 40 and stays consistent will look back at 65 and call it the best decision of their life. The person who waits will look back and call it the most expensive one. 40 isn't too late. 40 is exactly on time, if you decide today that it is. If this video shifted something, drop 40 and free in the comments. It tells me you're done waiting for the right moment to become the right moment. And if you want the 5 specific first moves to make when building wealth after 40, the exact sequence that makes the most of the time and advantages you actually have, that's the next video. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. The person who waited for the perfect moment is still waiting. The person who started on an ordinary Tuesday with an imperfect plan, an uncomfortable number, and a decision that felt smaller than it was, is 25 years closer to free. That Tuesday is today, if you let it be.